We put a lot of emphasis on the importance of human beings playing a more active role in how AI is designed and how we consider the ethical consequences of AI.
In machine learning, you will never get for free something that you didn't explicitly ask for, and you will never avoid behaviors that you didn't want but didn't tell the model or algorithm to explicitly avoid.
How can technology help make good efficient, and how can technology help make evil inefficient?
My main message here is that there is science to be applied here to make those things better in the first place.
The problem is capitalism has turned to data to make money. That's why there's no privacy. It's not because it's not impossible to do, it's because it would destroy the business model of Silicon Valley.
More than monetization, I think the bigger issue there is that Amazon, who's acquired Ring doorbells, they secretly work with the agencies and governments without permission. They're using this information to do other things like surveillance.
Do we learn anything about God by looking at surveillance?
As we surveil each other more and more, and we realize how much that takes away from our human dignity, how much that takes away from our free agency as human beings, we realize that this idea of this omnipresent God, somehow watching everything we do and punishing us for what we do wrong or rewarding us for what we do right is not something that we want. That turns God into some kind of a totalitarian dictator.
Surveillance technologies we find today are operative in the background. For example, when they analyze our online footprint and then present the world to us through the lens of tailored news feeds or social media feeds. So theologically, they function much less like the God is watching you, so you better behave, but more like providence. You have a subtle background mechanism that kind of arranges the world in a way that nudges you gently into the right direction, and you perceive yourself to be acting freely, but in fact, your decision has been prearranged.
We are being challenged for the first time, perhaps in all of human history, to actually define and assert for ourselves what is it that makes us human?
In what ways are we truly similar to, and do we actually differ from the entities that we are creating? Is there something about us that is truly distinct? And if so, what?
Are AIs going to have relationships with God? Is God going to have relationships with artificial intelligence?
However sophisticated, it's still something that's emerging out of what we're putting into it, right? So it's really, if you want to say it's a particular kind of relationship with ourselves, that's a different thing, and we have to think about what that means.
If all of our AI systems, which they're not currently able to do, decided to wake up, to become conscient, sentient beings, and decided to revolt against humanity, our manufacturing, our economy, our national security, our communications, everything would grind to a halt.
The story of Christian eschatology is a story of hope. So if you're hopeful people, it's kind of a strange thing, I think, to be formed by an eschatology that is supposedly about orienting you towards hope, and the way you regard whatever's coming down the pipe of eschatology is instead to have a disposition of terror and helplessness and lack of agency.
I think we're projecting a lot of our own phobias onto a thing we call technology, instead of recognizing it's part and parcel of what we are.
So why do we want this? Well, I posit that it gets lonely being the only thinking thing in the cosmos. And as we have moved away from relationship with God, from belief in God, that we have decided we've got to look for this somewhere else. Or maybe we have to create it ourselves.